en su lucha uno contra uno rondas. Y ahora empieza en la lista número 1, Rusia, Países Bajos. Los rusos son abrumadores. 1-1 contra el combinado. Y ya empieza la lucha entre los Estados Unidos. De momento un poco caído.
see great aggression there from the French fighter. Didn't quite get that shot, slightly over the head there, but you can see the movement of him, strikes down.
Slow-mo is always an incredible sight to see, because when we see it again fast, it is incredible.
Defensive moves there from the Frenchman's. I'm not sure, I'm wondering if that's in fact the Russian fighter. Sword, it doesn't leave the Italian with too many options. But
ooh, that was a near thrust there. I think sometimes this happens. If you get caught on something, you need to clear it, and that may happen as you thrust forward. Now we see Argentina against Canada here.
Very, very well controlled.
I've ever been involved in.
Yeah, how could I forget? First class event, in fact, in WMFC just this year, back in February, followed by a reduced, smaller team this year of Belarus. Very, very strong for the first time. Quite a team of veterans out there. And Israel, real fan favorite. They travel so much. All the events in Russia and the attack. Turkey being the third new team.
Public. You will be able to vote.
And he's got a lower grip on it, which means that he's looking for that extra couple of inches of reach.
Yeah.
Or it might be a balance that he prefers, but his guard is changing now. Nice high guard.
That great shot there.
But the Polish fighter continuing
so much
hard.
aggression.
Yeah, and it has.
Outstanding fight, and but what a. Okay, they saw a little bit of pulling back and control there from the US attack, however. He's going to need that famous counter-attack if he's to overcome the Ukrainian fighter. Against nice counters there from the American, but the
he's definitely
in great sportsmanship and great camaraderie between the to avoid a counter-attack. Much the same way that the Polish fighter did. Some very, very aggressive fighting. You can see the combinations there from the Russian. Very, very aggressive. It's a bit of giving each other a bit of a stance, but you can see that tiring slightly there. The Russian is actually holding, enclosing right here. Two very, very similar fighters. You can see the speed of them. Great shot there from Russian.
Hopefully the Polish fighter has learned his lesson and is going to keep.
But a nice shot there from the Russian. To Poland versus Russia.
The speed is incredible.
Absolutely stunning work from both fighters there. Have to concentrate so hard in order to keep this, keep the concentration up to see. But very, very impressive work from both fighters. Very fast.
Incredibly so. I'm again Russia pressing hard, looking to try to take the initiative away.
Again, a nice shot there from for the Russian. Again, very, very.
But, the blocking on both sides doing very well.
There.
Your shots do end up in the neck and towards the legs.
And that looks like it's a 2-1 victory for.
Un aplauso, recibe su medalla Rob Hunter. Second place, Savel Kolov, and he will receive from Sergei Sinval, the Vice President of HMBIA. Glory one-on-one.
Ooh,
okay, great support there from the Australian team.
Please start being chanted Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. Take on one fighter, and then before even engaging, doubled back against another fighter who had their back turned. Very strategic. Congratulations, obviously well earned.
This is Germany.
Germany is fantastic outfit
there. Some very, very aggressive fighting there. The speed of that.
Germany's going to have to pick up their speed.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be
guard
difficult
that leg
against this Ukrainian. Wide open of Russian in a stunning
out of the field.
Quite possible.
And the speed is there.
The German fighter will be looking to make up some ground here.
Unfortunately, just not responding as fast as she needs to.
She's up against some very, very support.
Italy and America still going at it. I'm getting some nice shots there from the Italian.
Very, very nice shots. Yeah, very well. Italy. Very impressive work. That's a great start from the German.
And this is where it comes to.
And they've left herself way too exposed there. Got quite idle with the buckler.
It's all 1v1s. The helmets are so thick.
Yeah.
That differences.
Okay,
Oh,
and you can
dropping
see
her head there.
the strength of the Canadian there seems to be overpowering the
But at the same
Ukrainian.
time-
They're from the Italian fighter, but we're seeing a more composed Turkish fighter, very, very aggressive from the Italian.
They're coming up to engage. The Turkish fighter pushes her away, gets that distance going. Unfortunately, a few shots coming over the top, but I don't that.
But you can see them both starting to tire, however. The shots losing the precision.
And the power, but still enough to be counted, at least the Australian.
Russia versus Ukraine. We mentioned those two very rapid fighters earlier.
Italy being a fantastic longsworder, but Czech Republic having the distance.
There's a height advantage there, certainly. However, this Italian fighter is fully dedicated. She's been to a few Battle of the Nations before. Some nice movement there coming in from the Canadian fighter, connecting very, very well against the helmet. Very smart. She waited and waited for the perfect moment. Took her down. That's a big takedown. Very impressive there from Australia. A great victory.
Fantastic job. Those shots were clean, but
The Argentinian fighters, like we said, first time Team Brazil is here at Battle of the Nations. Could it be a question of training? Or indeed conditions, as you quite rightly said? A round of applause there for the fighter.
One of them deciding to disengage.
And you've got one runner there.
Seems
However,
like the Mexicans already gone down.
Czech fighter there, that's right.
So we've got 3 against 2 now.
Some big blows to the head there from
the. You can see weapons getting caught in all sorts of places.
That's right, yeah.
And
oh, that's a double take.
Member in. The fight is off.
It's off. An early rush on one side of there from the Czech, who
pushing really hard by the Czech in the north. Yes.
Driven right back deep into Czech territory. However, into the Spanish territory. Excuse me.
As we can see, obviously these giant here getting those 2 hands.
So both advantage there from the Spanish. The Czech fighter managed
a bit of an outnumbering in the center of the field, with a few
so,
fighters trying for a trip, but unfortunately not enough up against the edge of the list. We have this Spanish fighters coming in with.
Does have the advantage in terms of number.
He seems to have no weapon on himself, and has decided to just go down.
And that's it, and he can't fight back at that point. And there's a big rush there from the Czech fighter. Charges into him. Charges coming
Czech
through.
fighter, but the Czech do actually have the numbers at the moment.
And they're going for a takedown there. And he could take
another 2-handed Polax wielder.
Well, you can see that. So it's a Spanish fighter, though. I'm not sure how this is going to go. They might both go down at the same time.
If I was that Czech fighter, I'd hold on for Dortem and shield user against a single.
And his helmet has come loose in one arm, so he's got to be very, very careful.
It's warranted. So we need to make sure that we let our marshals do their jobs.
This is absolutely in.
That he's probably getting, the big Spanish fighter's probably getting a little tired.
I think they're going to be broken up there because
they're not used to.
I don't think that's going to be an advantage there.
The Czech fighter off screen has just taken down the Spanish leading to as UK presses the US.
They keep maintaining that hard line, forcing deep into US territory there in the list.
Not really getting as involved as they maybe should be.
Well, I think they're doing the right thing. They're waiting for their runs, and I think that's going to be.
We've got 2.
And that's going to make a big difference there. They come charging. I think they're going for the wrong charges out straight into the back of the UK fighter. But I think that's a big takedown there from the UK fighter.
He was not
very impressive.
That US fighter was not watching himself, unfortunately.
Wait, a nice charge coming through from the UK fighter. That's a great takedown.
I think this is a UK fight, but
however, down goes the UK fighter, and they have to be very, very careful. That's some great work forcing the UK fightor back. He's gone down.
That may have paid off, but unfortunately didn't see through.
Pressure on this.
That runner needs to get moving. He's got himself back to the corner, immediately out and in the field again. And now we have Ukraine coming up against France. Some fantastic kicks to start it off.
Smashing into each other. It's good running around there.
The numbers are now on Ukraine's side.
Yep. You can see the French getting down there.
Unfortunately, the numbers are now on the Ukrainian team's side.
Absolutely.
For France. They have completely taken their energy out.
French territory there. However, there are a few Ukrainians down as well.
It might be a little bit even, but now they're getting picked apart. The solo fighting skills are going to come through. French are in the corner, but they're holding their own. The Ukraine's obviously piling into that corner as well. Probably not enough, unfortunately, to withstand.
Even though they are very resilient.
The French are holding that corner well. Maybe one has fallen, so that unfortunately leaving them to a disadvantage.
This is now business as usual. There.
Germans' pole arms are coming in much stronger than Italy's.
Quite clumsy in the middle there. They're falling over each other, and I think
there was a clean shot from an accident Italian to a fellow Italian, and then had to, especially with a team like Germany who shares similar colours.
Yeah,
really
very
lost their
difficult.
footing for that German.
Sometimes when we fight, once again, a fairly tense beginning to that.
All credit to that German, with the first one to enter into that fray. Probably went down faster than anybody else, but he kicked it off.
Well, that's right, yeah. He got it going. Overall movement of each team.
But it
However,
does look
now
like Italy has it.
they are focusing on getting down the
Very competitive setup against one another.
German national team. However, we do get underway now with Poland against Spain, and Poland make the early rush there.
Polish and another Spanish fighter down, and they seem to be going down pretty evenly. The Polish seem to be getting taken down.
Yeah, that's true. There's some strange movement in the way they're going across. However,
the Polish
are
taking advantage.
working more as a team to get these an early rush here from the Polish. But we're not this time. It's very, very collected.
Pushing hard on the south side by the Polish, leaving a gap in the middle, not willing to engage just yet, hoping that south side's going to be able to wrap them round. They're not seeing much difference, but one Spanish fighter was dragged through the lines.
Hold that solid line. You can see the fighters.
Not overcommitting, and that's a key thing.
Yep.
You don't want to be putting yourself in a situation where
They're
you
not
don't have
taking
the
the risk.
advantage.
They're not taking the risk. They're not going for these runs down the middle.
And if
Rather
USA
than
do
loose
that,
fighters. Because they've broken the Spanish line, because they've found the gaps, well, that's a great run for the Spanish fighter. Unlucky not to get to take down the Polish fighter.
see this Polish
Spanish end of the list. Once again, the
Spanish fighter's doing well, but unaware of their surroundings, going down.
there. Lots of pole arms coming down.
From there, he's a compadre.
But
Czech fighter down, but seems that France and Czech are nicely met.
All around the list.
One Hungarian
think-
down.
Yeah,
I think the numbers are slowly piling in the French favour.
I think Rush there, and he's gone down.
Oh,
Very
unfortunately
impressive
now
work
it
from
is
this much more organised French team.
about 5 or 6, but it seems like French have taken down nearly every fighter.
Okay, and an early rush there from the Russians, who go charging into the Americans.
Oh, seems Avalok found himself, lost his weapon and had to run back to the baseline. Oh, French again moving in nice and hard to finish off the fight here. Unfortunately, we're getting a little messy here for the Czech Republic. The only unfortunate thing happening would be
Oh, there's some sharp work there from France, however. Big takedowns.
Indeed, a few fighters being caught off guard down with them, then it might even the odds.
Oh, that's very...
Very optimistic, I know, but unfortunately it does not seem to be going in their favour, with about 6 against 1 Czech fighter pushing one side or the other. Now we see the replastic engagement.
And there we go, straight into it, the UK charging towards the Italian team there.
Keeping their line strong though.
Big blows coming through by...
Down. We have a few people on...
Far too deep into the UK side of the list.
Seems like one Italian is choosing to argue with the marshal. Hopefully that has been lost. It now seem to be pretty even, but
these Italians are very, very strong.
the members.
They're fighting against some very, very experienced UK fighters there. Big, aggressive shots. If you look just up, you've got all the line of UK fighters who can simply turn around and...
Here's the engagement.
Kind of big rush there, fast up from the Ukrainians. Very, very aggressive start there.
Hitting
from
them
both
hard.
teams. The Spanish doing their best to respond, but they're being taken down. Slowly, there's only 3 of them down now, but now the Ukrainians...
They're being taken down one by one in quick succession. The Ukrainians fantastically known for their speed and taking an opportunity from a weapon.
Getting injured at all, certainly not Battle of the Nations.
No, no. Obviously, there are many fights around the world. I've never heard of a single story of anybody, even a marshal, getting seriously injured. Now, here we see Ukraine pushing hard and just heating continuously. Polearms are just not doing anything. They're just standing back and biding their time too much. The Italians trying to hold their line, but it seems like they've lost the north side of the... They're doing fantastic in holding their own, but they need to regain their composure.
That's right, yes.
If they
Let's
can
even
keep doing
things
that,
out, but he gets that one right back. You can see it's
using
the
the dead
push over
bodies,
there.
unfortunately.
Yep.
It means that these Italian fighters aren't aware of this. Ukrainians obviously pushing hard as per usual. The Spanish doing their best to meet them, unfortunately losing their line.
And just see that the Ukrainians have pushed back deep into Spanish territory. Not quite getting the results they wanted, pushing them too far back against the list, so it's harder to get them down to.
Out of the groups, but I feel that's what broke their line. You have to be willing to not give up ground whatsoever. Something that obviously now we see the engagement.
That was a very, very slow engagement of Germany against USA.
USA was seemed confused by that as well, almost wondering if it was friendly.
Yeah, it was quite confusing for me.
Some fantastic attacks there by the Americans, taking out some Germans
very
unawares.
fast attacks there now.
Doing this,
Big shots coming down, and a great takedown there, who are working down these Germans. More of them.
Followed by a German fighter, but nonetheless was free.
See here, like, coming in from the behind, you thought the German had the advantage. Big rush.
To engage, but whether or not this means that French are going to lose their standing.
Or very attack. Now you can see that skirmishes have broken out. There are loose runners.
They've still got a nice line, but it seems to turn more into a horizontal line.
That's right, yep.
The few Polish who have broken through really hard.
Obviously some very, very impressive work. There was a big takedown there of the Frenchman.
Frenchman tossing with a nice kick, catching them off guard. Seems like it's pretty even numbers now, but Poland seems to be the ones up against the
slowed down for the French team.
Member standing there.
Some big shots there coming from the Americans, and already a German fighter is down. Some nice movement there. Let's see if these Americans are going to take advantage of.
I think, honestly, the Americans waited long enough for the engagement to start, to wait for the opening and then push their way through, backing the Germans down into a corner. Really shots coming through. We can hear that ringing up in the favor. Solid fight there.
Yep, and that's it. Well done to
shake things up.
Yep, that's right.
You mentioned before, obviously, the Italian in the fight, I think, against Germany when they overcommitted. The bottom corner of the screen here on the sides,
that's pretty
unfortunately,
impressive.
one or two down, about 4 Polish fighters down.
You can see the Polish fighters now trying to break through the French lines, trying to get that run coming from behind. Seem to be completely immobile in the center, not knowing where to start off, but I think they're going to be surprised from behind by the Polish fighter.
Didn't finish it off, though.
Didn't quite get it, however, there was a nice attack.
Lost his, but he's quick.
Oh, that's a bit.
But you lose yourself. You wonder about your whether you maybe could have been more effective. The Polishans really circling them. Not a single Russian standing back. That's what I noticed too much.
Big takedown.
And the engagement starts. Russians pushing hard on the south side. The Italians already going down. The Russians keeping a nice hard guard there, protecting against the halberdiers. A few Italians getting separated from the bunch.
Well, the Russians has lost his weapon. They're now charging. There are still some spaces for the Italians. However, they are being moved back into their corner now. The big shots with the halberds coming in from these Russians in 2 layers, slamming down on the Italians now, right back into the list, and it is called.
You know, as much as I say, sounds plausible. It's also Russia and Ukraine, known for their intense fighting. As you can see here, Italians tripping over themselves because they're not able to backpedal hard enough to take on these Russians who just come charging at them without pause.
They have fought several battles in a row and need to do so again. They're taking just a brief pause.
Go for those fast attacks, but it's quite a rapid UK start there instead. Big blows coming through, however, they're slightly weakened in the center. Lots of concentration on the outsides there. Now they started to take down German fighters. Fighters coming loose there at the sides. Big blows coming down there from the UK team, taking down these German fighters.
The engagement starts.
And that's some fast move from one side from the French, but evenly matched there by the...
To get a bunch of the French fighters locked in, and could pick them off one by one. But if they don't get them out fast, and just went down on top of one of these own fighters.
Nice use of the knee there. Unfortunately, with the knees, Benny's not making this here. They do have the advantage.
The
However,
engagement, you can see though that man was that fighter had just taken down one of the Frenchmen, so even the numbers up a bit.
Well, against some big attacks there, and I don't think there's much to spat point just to go down with the fighter. They've got the advantage with the numbers. They don't need, it's obviously a logic why they do it, but you can see there in the replay that they are hanging back very far. Even the French, however, they do
as well, yes.
They do look for their areas of fighting a bit better, backing up their fighters, whereas you have too many loose Spanish in the wrong places. They've got this half line in the middle, and it doesn't seem very effective.
I don't believe though that the French their plan went to When
Quite hard. Let's see if they go charging into the
Bien,
French.
la siguiente
And already the
ronda
French make a
empieza
fast start. I
en
think that was a
la
big risk on his part. He's dropped back a little bit.
he always does that. He's did that every single round so far. I think it's just
Fairly
allows him to
ineffective.
not- But I think it does the psychology of making sure that nobody overcommits.
It does, but the thing is, you can't do that against everybody. You do that against Ukraine or Russia, you're going to find
Well,
yourself on
unfortunately,
the
just
ground
took down
very
a Spanish
quickly.
fighter himself.
Yep, that's true.
Trying a hip toss on the second one. The French are doing what I said the Spanish should be doing. Again, we get another member caught. This is the center line being covered. Some
That's
fantastic
right, yeah.
line fighting. The French pushing in maybe a bit too hard
Big
there.
blows coming in there.
We're seeing a few Spanish and French off to the sides getting caught on the walls, but unfortunately not enough to make any of them go down. Fortunate that when you get these piled up, now they're severely outnumbered and the line has broken.
They are pushing right back, and you can see there's just one loose Spanish fighter deep in the French territory who almost fell over his own fighter there, and now you can see that the French have got the Spaniards smothered. However, not giving up.
Well fought by the French. Obviously, we see these replays here. We can see the line, the Spanish, but unfortunately not enough.
So I think the French will right to change their tactics overall, because in the last two fights they've done, they've been pretty impressive, whereas the first fights they were relying on that speed and the aggression. It didn't quite work, certainly not to the effect.
La victoria, pues, ha sido para Barcelona. Thank you and have a safe trip.
French hitting powerfully, kind of letting the Moldovan come to him.
A little bit of exposure in the helm of the...
Está repitiendo en la lista número 2 los últimos instantes, ya que no necesitas hablar con el equipo árbitro. Ha caído otro danés y la victoria es para el Reino Unido. Volvamos a Estados Unidos, Italia. ¡Qué batalla!
Sword and shield round. But it's all to play for still, so she might want to conserve some energy. Be the final for the triathlon. Then the 12 coming swinging round. Good block.
This is, I think, the Spanish fighter is doing well in being non-linear, but the Polish fighter taking advantage. Few fantastic shots coming in there from the Polish fighter, and we now see a victory here to Poland. The lower runs have been brought up to have a really Ukraine
from the Moldovan this time around, but he's you can see both these fighters matched in terms of the physical aspect. Both nice evasive, but I still think the Moldovan caught there. Great push there from the Russian, which is not so characteristic categories there. You can see Russian lunging, had some great shots to the head there, and the Moldovan trying to grip on, the Russian having none of it.
Flourishing from the Moldovan, but very precise hits from the Russian, getting through the Moldovan's guard.
Getting these strikes in, however.
Fantastic shots by there. His energy is not going to do any favors here. Getting some good leg shots in there from the Russian.
Thought to keep his shield so high.
I think he's taking the initiative away from the Moldovan.
And he's lost his weapon.
By the Moldovan to try to meet the to take it away from the Russian.
The French grinding away at the Russian fighters.
Fantastic shots coming in there. If this is the.
I think that big rush there from the Finnish fighter. However, it only went into the list. Great aggression there, thrown from the Finnish fight. Ukraine not letting up there, and there's going to be a bit of pressure now on these two. Charge now, however, who is she charging into? Again, a smart idea going for the smaller fighter. Ukrainian fighter over the grounded Finn. Has gone to change. Big shots there. Now they've got the two Americans.
Unfortunately losing the grip there.
Big kicks there coming from the Israel.
There needs to be a burst of energy. The Israeli fighter losing a bit of control from
Czech Republic.
Winning that very fairly, doing a fantastic job.
Great work.
It seems like the large Swiss fighter, the large Czech fighter.
Their round against the French, and you can see really taking the fight back to these Australians here, applying the pressure. A careful, cautious run from the Israeli.
But
a good strike there to the side from the Israeli. So it is 2 versus 2. They need to be very careful not to fall over their own teammates there. The Russians still starting to get
goes down. She should take the
both
very
of them
close there, where Ira was trying to free the hand, unfortunately collecting the head of a teammate at least once, but did regardless of whether or not she gets gold in this competition, she's won. Meeting the Ukrainian charge. Nearly taken down from behind for that Czech fighter.
It's a great jump there into the Ukrainian. Now it breaks off into 1 versus 1 in 3 different points in the list.
An incredible job there by the one Czech fighter, engaging a Czech fighter off the side of the screen, and then the Czech taking that opportunity to run again. The engagement starts. Czech keeping it.
And this could be a quick takedown. I think that she will go and take it. That's a brilliant win there for you. It's fairly swift work from Ukraine. They didn't make
shots. Incredible the power that she's got behind those hits.
You can see still the Czech fighter they're using, the Romanian Czech fighter there, and go down with her, but that didn't even happen. So against this very skilled Italian who already took bronze in another category. Some nice aggressive work there.
Canada throwing some shots that are a bit wild, maybe looking for some backhand shots. They're not connecting well. Being the underdog, this may mean Italy is up for a silver nonetheless and striving to get that gold. And, usually a runner. It'll be interesting to see if she stays put.
I think 2 of the Czechs have gone for her.
Fighter needs to focus more on the shoulder to make sure she's weakest there.
You can see there now the Australian fighter in a difficult position. Kick there, wonderful work there from the Australian team. And all the need round. So will not decide anything.
Indeed. That's why I said in case it depends on who wins. We now cut to Czech. Question about that. They fought every one of those rounds as strongly as they could have.
Oh, that is amazing teamwork there with two. I'm not sure if we've seen that one before.
Ukraine not too sure what to do in the centre.
Yeah.
The runners meeting each other. Could be a quick throwdown here for both of them.
Yeah.
Looks like they're neither one of them
very
will ever
aggressive
get the
there
toss.
from the Ukrainians. Big hits coming from that Ukrainian fighter. And skirmish in the middle there, going to this a big push now. Doesn't quite end up. Big push down there.
Field punch. Got to be sure that they don't tackle. Oh, nearly can take it
Goes
down.
and that's the Russian who's taken down.
Still not fixed. Oh, there we go. Fantastic by the Israeli marshal.
It was, yeah, and as predicted, we are being greeted by the Russian and Ukrainian team captains and the Knight Marshals for an appeal. I believe the appeal will be made by
and Ukrainians.
In fact, it's the closest we really come to
The action.
the
A
action
fantastic leg shots there by the Russian in black. Not sure
Yep.
how many of them connected.
Yeah,
Some
soon
backhand shots to the leg.
The award given by Sergei Sinval, responsible for the organization of this Battle of the Nations. Ladies and gentlemen.
Greece.
It's going to be interesting now to see after the celebration.
Turn round and he'll hit his own.
Might end up with a team member down here.
Looks like a big smash to the face there.
And, crossing.
Oh, that's a big takedown then. Slam down.
Unfortunately, we now have a 4-2-2 match.
The uniformity of this Ukrainian team with the black grand
Fast
helms.
Ukrainians getting through the
Has gone for a rush that wasn't quite connected with him. A big smash to the face there.
and we have one Russian free as we have two Ukrainians
Oh,
and
that's
a
a
Russian
big
down.
smash into the opponent there, and they both go down. I think the Russian will try to keep it. He did seem to be on the ground, but there's no intervention from the marshal. He's looking around to understand what is happening. Yes, he has been grounded.
Up in a corner.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, though. It seems to be that if that Ukrainian is able to muscle his other team, apart from the Russians, take gold here. That and as part of a distraction.
Sharp movement.
One Ukrainian getting stuck in the middle there. Very smart to reposition
there's
himself.
one Ukrainian wasting far too much time in the middle and not going for the runs, and then it's the Russian who's gone.
If they're smart
Dashing
about
out,
this.
slams into the list there, but it's countered very well by that strong Russian. Massive blows down there from the Ukrainians.
That
There's a
Ukrainian
big punishment being dealt out to these Russians here, trying to deflect those shots.
Oh,
that's a
correction, 4 against 2.
4 against 2.
Might still come round. One Ukrainian nearly taken out by a Russian from behind, but he survived the shove.
They've got to be careful in the corner there.
The intensity.
Big blows there, takes down the Russian. Anderson, Ukraine win that round.
Fantastic
Move there from the Russian, trying to go for the leg sweep. However, the speed of this Ukrainian team, very, very impressive. Big shots coming down there.
Definitely thinking
also
on
to
the
the
fly.
side.
Grabbing onto the edge of the list to make sure he didn't go down with him.
Yeah. Nice work there. 2. We see an early run there from the Russians, and they go smacking into the Ukrainian now. Great movement there from the Russian, however, he's been grabbed by the Ukrainian fighter, takes some shots to the face and the side. That there's a lot of skirmishes against the list, so nearly to a takedown there. However, he's taking a risk himself, very nearly taken down there.
Every single one of these fighters.
Oh, that's a fighter down already for the Ukraine.
And a Russian with him.
Oh, that's one versus one there.
Still equal numbers here.
But both teams have lost one fighter.
We can see in this corner being very tough. One of the Ukrainians just stuck there. Big Ukrainian as well, though.
You can see the dust fly there.
You can definitely see it getting hot in here. The marshal's making sure that the fighters get out of the. He's being hesitant. He needs to just start hammering down on.
But he's being. You can see he's being watched by the Russian on the right there.
Yeah, agreed. Maybe he needs to.
Big smashes there.
He needs to just keep him checked. Now
but he's gone. They're all hemmed into the corner, making it very difficult for the Ukrainians to break them
now
away.
He needs to go crazy.
Great shots there,
There's
however.
been marshals have intervened. There seems to be some sort of issue with maybe armor. He needs to start doing something very quickly, trying to take down these fighters, or at least swinging.
Yeah.
He needs to possibly get himself against that list, but he might do better outside.
Yeah. Smart work there from the Russian.
Ukrainian taking it hard, but maybe that Ukrainian should be disengaging now. Leaving.
Smacks coming to the face.
He has. He's trying his best to take down a fighter. Very smart strikes.
The crowd really getting into this.
That spare runner is doing some heavy hits on the Russian, but he needs to readjust. Unfortunately, Ukrainian taken down.
Oh, now big blows to the head of the Ukrainian there.
Now we have 4 versus 2.
Wearing him down. With the Russian behind him, careful not to strike too soon because there is movement. He doesn't want to hit his own fighter.
But he stood back a bit too much. Some brilliant shots to the back of the leg by the Russian, but met with another kick.
Quite uncharacteristically.
And the Ukrainian is already down off screen.
And you can see once again advantage for the Russians. They're going to need to work very hard. You can see Russian has lost his weapon. There's nobody taken down. A double takedown happens there. Ukrainian and Russian losing fighters.
Russian getting back to the edge of the list to do something quickly. I believe that it'll be the polearm user from Ukraine, the giant over in the other corner.
Yeah, and that's another Ukrainian taken.
I think Russia was surprised, and it cost them, but luckily came out on top at the end there.
Some work to do here. Great movement there, as you can see, under the Casellas, choosing his opponent carefully. Look at the speed of these American fighters. The Russians not quite sure what to do with themselves here.
They need to be
careful.
careful.
Very close to a takedown there. Great movement from the Russians. Great aggression. Slamming into the side of him, not quite engaging in the way he wants to, but he's going to have to make
one Russian down.
That's one Russian already down.
Russian down.
Oh, this is amazing work from USA.
I think that the movement has ended up tripping up.
That's another Russian down. Amazing fighting from USA here.
Fantastic kick to the legs from Colin Campbell.
And they're going to wear down these Russians. Very, very little they're able to do at this point. They're taking the blows. They cannot take much more of this. And that's a USA fighter who will be grounded for that. They're trying to get a grip on this big Russian. Wearing them down. He has been grounded by the marshal correctly because he did have a knee down on the opponent. He's been told to lie down.
Away from the fighters. I believe he
punishment coming down on these Russian fighters who have
off guard.
You saw them. I think he actually tripped over his own teammate there.
No, it was actually Colin that kicked out the leg.
Right, okay.
As he may have dropped a weapon and tried to change position, but Colin took that opportunity. Some fantastically hard shots coming in there, blocked by the Russian. Not happy with that, repositioning himself to try and defend the shots, but it didn't. Here you can see.
You can say all they're doing is absorbing these big hits from the USA team. But the Russians very cautious about this, and there may be a takedown there, twisting through. Big kick down, that's a massive takedown!
We've got one American and one Russian down. And we now have another
that's another massive takedown! It's all happening in this fight now. You can see the grounded fighters, 2 Russians on either side of the list. This is turning out to be an amazing round.
We do have an advantage to...
it goes down Russia now, in control. But it is 3 versus 3. Things have evened out.
The marshal's getting involved. Something's going on here.
But there seems to be a block there, Not sure. Quite connects with these fights, but you can see those massive blows coming down on the USA.
It's a very even fight. USA getting tucked in the corner there. He needs his mates, but now he's got his back caught.
Take down that big American there. But he can't quite in, but he's very, very close now. All they need to do is take out the legs. He's holding that's very close. He's actually hooked onto the other side of this, and that's a great takedown. Russia!
They need to have, I think, that chaos. Fantastic kick to the back of the, I think, lower torso there. Took that member down, but there was a Russian already down on the other side. Yeah, a nice, wonderful throw from
great shot there, the Russian who's usually got such great flying kicks from the Russians are so powerful and decisive, as we saw.
I think USA need to step up their game and go back to what they were doing. By standing around there waiting too long, we have some changes of position.
Big smacks there coming in from the USA fighter. Going for lunge, however, he's met with a kick.
We have one.
That's one Russian fighter already down.
This could actually mean that
he's helped out now by his teammate. Charging in with a flying kick there. A maneuver preferred by this big Russia 1 team. And he's now trying to play him at his own game, but he's holding on.
Just held on to that one. He nearly got thrown. Eyes are all around, trying to see if they can support each other. That Russian looks like he's out of the list. We have
these Russians. Can the USA take down Russia 1?
Another USA fighter has gone down. Now it seems to be...
Can he put all this weight on him? Amazing work from the USA. However, the Russians are now putting all the weight on the Americans.
I think they need to get a USA member off to the other side to help them.
Can he break him away?
He survived that somehow. Great support.
Oh, the Russians in control now. They've been made to work for this. This is one of the closest fights we have ever seen in Battle of the Nations. USA, however, there is once again, they're trying to hold back their teammate. Big work there from the Russians, and the USA one somehow stays up. That is incredible.
His legs are now being taken
Kiselius now kicking away those legs, and it's 3-1. Russia won, have taken it against USA.
We see some fantastic takedowns throughout the entire game. It could have been anyone's right up until the end.
Oh, that was very, very impressive, though, from both teams. I don't think Russia won were really expecting the USA to be so strong in the first round, and they were shaken quite a bit. However, they pulled it together very rapidly. You can see here it goes for the very smart work there from the American fighter.
Now repositioning himself, trying to...
Absolutely, or at certain events. However, we do get underway into the first round. Big kick there from the Russian. Sums right into
the
that.
Ukrainian.
The Ukraine, I beg your pardon.
They're meeting hard in the middle, but...
a great shove there.
Not effective enough, unfortunately. We have two Ukrainians there trying to pick on that.
So that's a double tap. They've both gone down for that. Nice shove there to the Ukrainian. Big takedown there. Great movement now from the United States. However, taking big risks themselves. You can see the charge they're coming from the Ukrainian. Gets slammed into the list there, and they're moving further out. There's great wrestling tactics from the Ukrainian. But now we see Ukraine is holding on to the list.
There is an advantage.
Big charge there, flying kick from the American. Another charge, massive slam into the fighter. He's got his polearm there, but not able to use it now, completely incapacitated.
He's looking for his weapon when it's nearly falling out of his belt. He's not allowed to do anything.
Oh, I think the Americans are in control of this one now.
He's not allowed to do anything, unfortunately, until he can get that hand down. But as you can see, the falchion is falling out of his belt.
Yeah.
The American goes to actually kick it down.
I think it's the American fighter is trying to point something out here.
That he can't actually defend himself because the falchion is out of his belt. The American not allowing him to grab the weapon.
Yeah, I'm not sure why there was so much hesitation there. It's not clear.
Well,
however,
I think the American needed to make sure that weapon was gone.
Well, there's another rush there, and
it still could be anyone.
Very close. A great wrestling tackle, and the American is down.
Unfortunately, no, these even the odds here.
Yep.
Now
so it is all square. There's a big rush, however, he's going to have to be very careful. No, he cannot get the shove there. However, and the USA fighter is taken out.
Nearly going down.
And losing weapons left, right, and center. Now these Ukrainians.
Now possibly have this. Chasing that opponent, probably not the smartest idea. You now have 3-2-2 against
and the American is down, and that is a big... So we have another visit from the Night Marshals and the captains.
To be honest, I don't think this is back into the belt of that Ukrainian there at the end of the round to inform him of an issue with the with that falchion. It's going to be tough to see whether or not that Ukrainian actually
may have against the whole idea of it. Sometimes when you're on the back foot of it, you find you have to do it yourself.
It's one of these situations of you'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah.
A move they're trying to kick it out of his belt to make sure that out of the scabbard to make sure that he didn't have a secondary. Wasn't quite ready, but they're going to move fast.
Oh, very nearly gets a trip there. Some great stability shown by the Americans and Ukrainians. Skirmishes happening in the middle of the list. I think this is going to end up in a take. One Ukrainian already down. You're right.
Another Ukrainian and an American down. We now have an advantage to numbers of the USA.
Big charge here from the American who hacks away at the Ukrainian Seiko. I think he's about to lose his poleaxe if he's not careful.
He's smart enough that USA fighter might actually hack into that arm to make sure that he doesn't have that weapon anymore. And that may be the case. We can't quite see here. We've got to be careful where that placement of that axe haft goes.
Yep.
Marshals are watching. They'll make sure that that's a legal grab.
Yep. Oh, it's pulling the Ukrainian around. He's got him fully lifted up.
It might mean that American actually comes down with him. So they need to be smart about this as to whether that's actually the best bet.
Well, they'll still have the numbers, however, even if they do.
Indeed, but they want every advantage they can get. with a.
And that's a Ukrainian taken out there.
We now have 3 up and 1 Ukrainian. Oh no, my mistake. Across the side of the list off the screen, we have another Ukrainian still up. It looks like they now have 2 against 4, hacking strongly. Oh, something complicated there.
I think there's a stoppage. I'm not sure if that was a breakage. I can't quite
No,
see.
it looked like one of the.
Know enough about that subject. You'd have to consult a marshal for that. The clarification.
We can see some slow-mo replay now. The fantastic wrestling there in the center of the list. Trying to throw him down. I think he might eventually get him down. Oh no, this is the one that ends up pushing to the side of the list, and that polearm user hooking on as hard as he can.
Ukrainians quick to merge into US territory, but you see that big American there.
He has unfortunately lost a weapon. This is
Well,
going to
very early on, he's going to regret that. And that is already 2 USA fighters down.
This is not looking good for Team USA.
Big advantage now for the Ukrainians.
They need to start tossing fast.
A big kick there from the Ukrainian fighter, moving away the American. However, great stuff here from the USA. And another one down, however. Big trouble now for USA.
Also for those two. So that Ukrainian fighter needs to go down.
And you can see just pressing away at an American.
That Ukrainian fighter should be down. I'm quite confused as to why the Ukrainian... a little bit, still trying to figure it out. Some staggered groupings there. This will be intense. And the fight starts. The marshals clearing out of the way.
They go straight into each other.
Some near hip tosses, but it didn't happen.
You can see that big American in the middle there wrestling with that Ukrainian. Both of them fighting very, very hard. And I think the Ukrainian has gone for a charge instead of fighting that big American who comes thundering into him.
We have one American and a Ukrainian down. Another American, another Ukrainian
at the same time there.
Seems like we have a
fight. It's pretty even.
A 3v3 with 3 separate skirmishes happening.
Yeah, quite.
And the marshals are stopping one group on the opposite side. Seems that there has been some sort of armor malfunction. That leaving the Ukrainian in the advantage of numbers.
Oh, really that's a big flying kick there.
Brought down, unfortunate there, meaning there's a 3-1 fight. And that is Ukraine winning that round.
So Ukraine with the faster breakaway there from the Ukrainian team. Going for a trip there, not connecting, however.
Everybody very stable on their feet, even though they're moving incredibly fast.
The big slamming actions from the USA fighter. And that's a Ukrainian who has gone down. USA now with an advantage.
That USA fighter just got slammed against the wall, coping well.
And takes down a USA fighter.
Another USA fighter down. Unfortunately, this means that I think Ukraine have it.
Now, but in a very difficult position near the USA. And that's a great throwdown. Ukraine with a big win there.
What an impressive fight from Ukraine in that second round. Unfortunate for the Americans, but they did use the bodies on the ground and use their momentum. As we mentioned before, Ukraine fantastic with their wrestling and doing it quickly. And I don't think USA was ready for it. There were some fantastic holds on there. As you can see, the fight is reaching its peak, and then it's already over. It just gets impressively so. But as I said before, they didn't then play to their strength.
Saketin gives her the award Best Female Authentic Costume. Some photographs. Who also are good people, showing fair play at all times. El premio al fair play para el equipo Polonia 2. Congratulations Poland 2 for fair play. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Congratulations. To receive the trophy. Award being given by Ivan Koryagin, head of the tournament committee. A round of applause, please. Un aplauso para el equipo italiano, los que han demostrado la mejor progresión en su capacidad luchadora en esta competición de la batalla de las naciones año tras año. Congratulations, gentlemen. Señoras y señores, en la competición de 5 contra 5, los terceros, el equipo 3 de Rusia, los segundos, el equipo 2 de Rusia y los campeones, el equipo 1 de Rusia. Aquí están todos ellos. Russia 3, if you can come forward. Russia 3 to get your medal. Russia 3. Russia 3 receiving their medals. El equipo de Rusia 3. Silver medals for Russia 2. Well, let's wait for the photo. Wait. Let's wait for the photo of Russia 3. Thank you. Photograph of Russia 3. Okay, now Russia 2. Silver medal for Russia 2. These awards are being given from the organizers of the Battle of the Nations, members of the organization. Los plata, el equipo Rusia 2 recibiendo medallas de los organizadores de la Batalla de las Naciones 2017. Now photograph of Russia 2. Okay, and finally the champions, Russia 1. Ladies and gentlemen, the champions of the 5-on-5, Russia 1. Congratulations to the best 5-on-5 team in the world here at the Battle of the Nations 2017. Now we'll take some photographs of the champions and the trophy of champions to the captain. Congratulations to the Russian team, and now a group picture of the Russians. But meanwhile, we would like to thank everyone. We would like to thank everyone involved in this award ceremony. Thanks for everyone's help. And ladies and gentlemen, we will begin with 21 versus 21 right here at list 1 at 6 o'clock. A las 6 en punto empezaremos con los encuentros, con las batallas, los combates de 21 contra 21. Aquí mismo en la lista número 1. No se lo pierdan. Espectáculo puro y duro.
Big fan favourites here.
Looks like the Marshal is getting it underway, making sure that both teams are ready. And it begins.
And the Marshal gets out of the way there.
Fast.
Big rush coming through there, slamming into each other.
An incredible push through the centre. Might not be
nice.
the best. The US had left that centre wide open.
Oh, that's a great takedown there. And they've got two Ukrainian fighters already on the ground.
This
USA
might actually
fighters
work.
Also.
They're using their speed, really catching Ukrainians off guard. You can see left, right, and center. The US fighters just running around, shoving the Ukrainians.
Very nice tactics.
One Ukrainian who's lost his weapon heads back to the baseline with the weapon waiting for him. He gets back in the fight. Middle of the list, there's two fighters. They just pass on to one another. Runners now getting a little caught up on the sides of the list, hopefully able to free themselves. Some Ukrainians trying to find spare fighters. It seems that at least a few USA fighters have been pushed onto their own teammates.
A lot of the skirmishes now have been taken to the list. There's not much room for running. There are a number of fighters grounded now. So the big danger is that if they do go for a run across to the other side, they risk falling over. Lots of fighters on the sides, as you can see, both Ukraine and US fighters. Another one goes down there, so Ukraine with the advantage here.
Definitely.
Advancing forward to...
It seems about 7 or 8 versus about 4 US fighters. So it'll be a real challenge to see how many of the US fighters can take down to increase their points.
Oh, this is very close. Nice takedown there. So I believe there are just a couple of US fighters there, but they're going to have to prize them from the list. And that is called. Victory there for Ukraine.
It is an incredible show. The US fighters definitely working their advantage with speed. We look like we have one down a US fighter that needs medical attention. On his front, nobody quite sure if they want to be moving him just yet. We can see this replay. The US fighters really using their speed, but unfortunately they kept getting caught out on the bodies about halfway through the match. You'll see a charge now from one of the US fighters straight into a large Ukrainian, slamming him into the list, but didn't eventuate to anything. Here we see some US fighters nearly knocking someone over with a two-handed blow to the head.
Yeah, that's some nice skill there. Good movement from the US. There is one US fighter down requiring medical assistance there. You did see a couple of scarves from different countries, including Israel, so looks like they do have some mercenaries fighting for them. There was one French also.
Might be because the 5 versus 5 team would be trying to make sure they're okay, not willing to reposition away from their down comrade.
Yeah, just looking closely on the larger monitor, which you can't see. And
he has managed to stand up. And
yeah. So USA now pretty much ready.
They were doing at the beginning of that fight, they completely emptied the middle and sent 2 packs down the sides, which left the Ukrainians, to be honest, a little bit confused, which may have worked to their advantage, even in the skirmishes, even in the wrestling matches, including the runners. USA was dropping to all of the fighters on the ground. This just meant that they, unfortunately, would...
Absolutely. And the US captain still second on his fight the program. I hope you're going to pay for that.
the A4 piece of paper, sure.
Concentrate, for goodness sake.
Gavin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the fight is about to start.
Right, okay, well.
Ukraine very happy to continue their fight. And they are well poised and clearly have their two lines. I think a bunch, yeah, at least 4 or 5 more halberdiers in the last fight, and maybe expecting the Americans to do the same tactic.
And it starts an early rush there. Brad Shively going straight down the middle, being met by all these Ukrainians.
The smart runners getting through.
Down yet. There's some Ukrainians and US fighters falling over each other in the middle. They're in a very dangerous position for the rest of the fighters.
I think, unfortunately, the Ukrainians having the upper hand here with a few numbers, and it seems to be heading their way with the Americans being taken down. This still could go anywhere.
That's right. There's a lot more Ukraine fighters now hammering down on these Americans, and I think that'll be called, and that's it.
A massive win to Ukraine.
Yep, big win there. You've got to be very happy with that.
They tried a different tactic now, running into a straight line, and unfortunately that did not. And the fight starts.
And that is the start. The marshal gets out. And even quite cautious charge in there. You can see great fighting skill there from the Italians and French. The halberdiers coming from behind.
Some cautious shot by the French
fighters yet. There is one French fighter who's gone on the back. They need to get rid of that fighter as quickly as possible. Far too much time being spent in the corner there with that loose French fighter.
It means that they've weakened what you can see on the right of your screen, that side of the line.
Very tenable. I think actually France have got the stronger line there, has to be said.
Only partially. I think there's an amazing job here by the Italians, but it seems mainly halberdiers holding the line.
Yeah, there's the halberdiers holding the line there, but as soon as they get through, as soon as they engage with the halberdiers, it could be very difficult for them. This is an extremely close fight.
It is, I don't think
you can see that Stefano Canella smashing down into the Frenchman with his shield there.
There's one down from each side. I don't
right,
think
yeah, that's
else.
it.
This is
first, this is very close. Again, you've got 2 down there. Again, 1 from each side.
Yeah, a Frenchman without a weapon trying to draw it from his belt.
Yeah.
Finally getting it out.
You can see there Stefano smashing into the Frenchman now. Again, these big Italians chasing down the Frenchman.
But nothing really happening by the people behind the lines. I see actually
very
in the
tense.
center of the list, quite a few Frenchmen have gone down. But it is going to be interesting to see what happens with this.
I think now the French are trying to break that group of Italians there. Great physical movement, kicking there. And you can see one of the Frenchmen tried to get behind the lines. However, there's an Italian taken down in French territory. Now trying to prize the Frenchman away from the list.
Some of these
close there, and so taking quite a knock there, the Italian. I think the French now have an advantage. You've got one Italian standing in the middle.
Another Italian has been taken down. The French are definitely gaining the advantage now. I think they have an Israeli mercenary with them.
That's right, yeah, they do, and it is all France now. Perhaps it might just be an Israeli shield. We've seen a few of them. You can see there.
We're seeing with the scarf on it, I do believe the French have this. There's only about 2 Italians left.
Yeah, it is all France now. The experience has paid off.
Unfortunately, that is it. There's only 2 Italian fighters left in the marshals. We'll call it now.
Well, that is a big victory there for France in a long round. That is a hard lesson learned for the Italian team.
I'll tell you, though, they definitely didn't give it up. I think the big change happened when one of the French fighters charged, only about maybe 10-15 seconds into the round.
Difficulty is when you've got 3 different teams in the same group, and this is much the same as all of the 21 versus 21. But how well do they fight together as mass? How well will UK be able to keep that line, and how effective will it be? The Polish there split up a little bit more, whereas the UK fighters, apart from 1 or 2, are keeping quite close. And it gets started closer down one end, but the UK smashing into the Poles. Great hits there coming from already. A weapon has been lost. You can see some halberdiers of the Polish lines waiting for a breakthrough. You can see that one UK fighter has got round the back. How effective will that be used? Unfortunately, now that fighter is being hunted down by the Polish.
Hopefully he can hold on to that list. In the center, we have a few Great Britain fighters not really engaging. One Great Britain fighter down, I think, over the top of another Great Britain fighter. So the advantage in numbers now goes to the Poles. But this is not, by any stretch of the imagination, over. The engagement is still a bit tentative in the center.
Still, you can see Poland holding that line. No hit rushes or skirmishes from the UK. There is a loose fighter, however. But you can see a great takedown there in the center of the list by the Polish. And that's the advantage they have.
A few Great Britain fighters trying to move to the other end of the list. The stragglers, unfortunately, are not coping well against these Poles.
Yeah.
But they're still a good solid line in the center.
That's right, yeah. I mean, I think numerically, yes, the Polish do have quite a considerable advantage here. However, now they're getting to some very solid UK fighters. Big shots coming down there from the halberdiers who are getting involved. And
oh, fantastic kick, sweeping out his leg underneath him. Some charges from behind. He's going to have to hold on. The Polish fighter in black hammering down on another fighter from the UK. It seems like the numbers are in the Poles' favor, but a few Poles tripping over their own fighters.
You can see there's a great takedown there with the Polacks from the UK.
Another fantastic charge at the top of the screen where the Pole jumped on the back of a UK fighter and he couldn't take the weight.
I think now it is coming down to the last few fighters. There is an advantage for Poland. However, the UK are taking the fight right to them.
And they're definitely not giving up, trying to take down as many
Poles
people as possible.
taking down another UK fighter, sacrificing one of their own teammates, but they do have the advantage there, so it won't make a difference. Poles charging in, and it's a big takedown there for Poland.
Just off screen at the south of the list there for you.
And it is all Poland now against the United Kingdom.
United Kingdom holding on hard, not really able to do much.
Yeah, they're forced back against the list, so they've got one fighter putting weight on them and another fighter, at least one other fighter, hacking down them with their weapons.
It is an unfortunate situation for UK, downing one of the Polish fighters, so they've at least gained a number there.
You can see there, Paweł Kurzak with 3 Polish fighters attacking him.
Holding on hard, not going down. Wonder if it's an aim to try and tie them out or whether he thinks he might be able to free them out.
And that is called, I think. That appears to be it. So I guess a victory there for Poland. And a great start there for them.
UK doing fantastically, but again, the reformation of the line, I think that's the key there. Poland was able to get back their line, and a few Polish fighters choosing to sacrifice themselves and charge at the sides, running at the flank of an unaware great.
Because the fight starts.
Bit of a slower fight from these two. Looking like UK again keeping some members further back.
I think those UK fighters, one changing his weapon now, but they're looking to break through those lines. However, they can't quite do it. They're now forcing the Poles marginally back.
In the centre, the Poles seeming to take a bash, but not actually getting anywhere. There was a surprising success of penetration and retreat by a UK fighter. And yet to see a single fighter go down yet. Oh, no,
that's right. And there's a Polish fighter taken down now. A big advantage. And one of the UK fighters goes for breaking through the lines. However, he's now taken out by right to the list by 3 Polish fighters at the back. Now you can see still that line in the middle. As UK fighters going for a trip there, and I think both of them will go out, and they do.
Unfortunately, UK losing their footing here,
yeah,
and getting into a bit of chaos, which might mean a few fighters go down, but they're regaining that
yeah.
line. Poland looking a bit in a bit of a schmozzle.
It's very difficult for the marshals to get involved there. They can't get too close to them to make a call if they deem that one fighter is actually out.
There's a
great movement now from the UK. I think they do have the advantage now.
Ever so slightly, yeah. Down towards the Polish end, you do have a few Poles still standing.
Oh, this is very close. We've got 3 against 1 now. I think the UK fighters are using their end the wrong way, but they have taken down that Pole. Now, capitalising on the advantage with numbers. The UK slamming down on these Polish fighters.
I got to believe that that two-handed axe is coming down heavy on that Black Knight.
Yeah, well,
but he's not dropping.
That's right. He'll be with the UK team. You just saw the scarf there.
Oh, I do.
Okay, you can see it on the screen now. Yeah, just to the right.
Let's see if he can really let his colours shine here.
Yep.
The UK still trying to sort out maybe some team members, maybe some weapons.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's in fact maybe they had too few fighters, in fact.
Eager, good on them for willing to go in with too few fighters, but not advisable. We have a few of these runners in the Eastern outfit standing back, maybe not wanting to put all their shield fighters on the front line.
That was in fact the tactic last time, and you can see that Nikolai Malacz is once again staying back. A bit more aggression from the start by the Polish team going into the UK. There's one who has broken through the line, but the UK fighters will want to take care of them as quickly as possible and get back through. Starting to penetrate the Polish lines themselves. One UK fighter taken down there. Now moving back slightly towards the sides of the list, but deep into the Polish territory of the list.
We've got a Polish member down on the north side of the field, doing a bit of a Viking tactic here, dividing and
Two of
conquer
them
like the
taken down,
Romans.
going for some sweep tactics, some big smashes coming down on the UK fighters.
Unfortunately,
Both of them going down.
a lot of these pairs going down together.
That's right, yeah, this is too close to call at the moment.
Very even numbers. There's definitely a pole that's getting hammered behind into the enemy lines of the
Yeah, you can see that. And we've got the loose fighter there who needs to be very careful for runners. I think he's going into a grapple there. As you
I
can
now
see.
think the numbers are in the advantage of the British team.
Well, that's a great takedown there, however, from Poland right at the back there. Very, very impressive, very athletic. However, he doesn't have a weapon, and he will not be able to retaliate. He's just got an axe now. However, UK do have the numbers. Will they be able to come back from the Polish? Smashing down on the fighters who are holding on to the list. One goes down, one left in the corner there, and you can see that Morris isn't, and it is called. UK! UK! UK!
Fantastic display by...
Much running necessary for the Russian fighter. They're able to concentrate their energies in those small skirmishes. So, the semi-final here is now advantage Russia. And again, the favourites to win it. However, the next semi-final will be very, very interesting. United Kingdom versus Ukraine. So, once again, a few moments to turn up the French name. I believe all the numbers are there, and it's just a minor armour adjustment to one of the fighters.
Shall be interesting to see how the French team adapts to Russia's tactics now, and whether Russia will go with the same thing. They don't seem to be on their front foot as much as they were before.
Well, that's it. Still, if whatever the tactic was, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You see now, two of the halberdiers staying back. The rest of the Russian line is very compact, as it was before, which indicates they might go for a rush from the centre, as they do. However, the French meets that.
Unfortunately, the Russian just powering straight through.
I can see that central mob there, breaking straight through the lines. That is a great strategy from Russia there.
Keeping their support. Unfortunately, not a single Russian going down for the French.
Oh, this is big work now from Russia.
I can't see.
Great smacks, and you can see thrown to the ground there, the Frenchman. And the Russian does go down, so a small consolation there for France. Very impressive work, and that is why Russia are the favourite.
Priority of the spectators is.
That's right, yeah. I mean, it's natural that people want to be as close to the action as possible. Also, we do have the VIP seats in that area. Just there you can see the closest seats to the list.
A nice solid line,
yeah.
Very dense from the UK team there. Wonder how their plan. Looks like they have maybe some more halberdiers entering the field. Sorry, the polearm users. But the Ukrainians getting a bit of a talking to from their captain. Wonder if there's any Ukrainians on the Great Britain team that might be able to translate that for some inside information of their tactics.
Final words of encouragement from the 21 versus 21 mass battle specialist of the Ukraine there.
Not quite sure if it's encouragement or actually more having a go at them with some of the hand gestures. But intimidation can be a good motivator.
Well, he's a great motivator. He charges them up. And the Night Marshal now calls the start of the United Kingdom versus Ukraine. Ukraine with a fast start there, going through the middle, much the same as the Russians did. However, you do have loose Ukrainian fighters in the middle there. No takedowns just yet. Two of them go down in the middle.
Down, and
another two British fall down. This is an advantage for the Ukraine now. Taking down more UK fighters. The push he lunged for could not quite connect. In fact, the Ukrainian took him down as well.
There's heavy hits being flown left, right, and centre. I do believe this is Ukraine's fight. They were able to take down far too many fighters very early in it. Now it's just a matter of the UK fighters holding on. Again, those solid hip tosses from UK, and that is the win to Ukraine.
Well, that's very precise work from Ukraine.
Team UK ready to go. I'm not sure if they have the energy. A few of their fighters resting on the list.
Now you can see France eagerly watching. They'll be looking to see the tactics of their opponents for the bronze medal.
Bit of a talk between a Ukrainian fighter and the marshals on the side of the list. Gates are now being closed.
Yeah, looks to be on both sides there. The UK gate already closed.
Sun shining here in Barcelona. It's going to build up on these fighters as it starts heating up the metal that's encasing their bodies.
Well, it's a good time of year to be here, but unfortunate with the rain yesterday, and it is a little bit cool. However, when you're fighting, you do appreciate this cool weather.
Definitely.
Where you're from, you know, it gets up to 40 degrees with no problems. And fighting in those conditions, or rather you than me.
Yeah, well, that's, I think, the key. Whenever it gets warm, we have a bit of a chuckle and hope that we come out on top. But these fighters, some of them will do training in saunas, some of them wear oxygen deprivation masks, just to make sure that they're ready for every single possible scenario.
Of course, the oxygen deprivation marks will be a smart idea because breathing with a lot of these helms is very limited. You can see quite an open one in the centre there, however, some of them are quite closed.
The engagement starts, Ukraine putting up, but UK meeting them in the centre.
Yeah, nice rush there. You can see few skirmishes, UK fighters down already, 2 of them in the centre, and that's going to be costly for the UK. Ukraine with a mild advantage now. More UK fighters going down. The Ukraine charging through these UK fighters. Skirmishes breaking out everywhere. Siding to the list now. Heavily outnumbered the UK fighters. Ukraine now.
I think the Ukraine runners are doing the hard. Oh, look, it's already over for the UK fighters. Losing a weapon there, and the fight is called.
Big win there for Ukraine. They go to the final.
Unfortunately, I don't think it worked in UK's favour, being so tired. There were a few Ukrainians that went down and weren't happy with your celebrating already.
Oh, no, you've been looking at me in a very disapproving manner of this.
No. Gavin, at least you can hold your liquor. That can't be said for everyone. In the end here, we're lucky to have front row seats with fantastic vision like you watching on your live streams from home. But at the same time, we feel your pain in not being able to be present right next to the fights or standing even right next to the list as an ex-fighter myself, being in the fights. It's a very different experience.
Yeah, as I said earlier today, this is yet another edition of Battle of the Nations where I sit behind a monitor, haven't seen a single...
Slowly dying. I'm doing my best to keep you guys entertained and informed.
Here, coming in through the side, neither team going for that vulnerable middle section there. However, it's a nice thrust forward and turning into a triangle formation from the...
One of the UK fighters obviously lost his weapon, ran back, got it, entering into the fray again. I think he's already gone down, his energy taken to the ground. So we have one UK fighter down, otherwise everyone else still standing. One French fighter being dragged out into the centre of the list, meaning that he's
looks like there's a trip there, so the French are still in the middle of the list there. The UK trying to break through the lines here. Now that's an interesting move. The UK have broken through. The UK fighter holding on to the list there. So there is a line, but a UK fighter goes down, as does a French fighter. Very close this. I think it's pretty equal at the moment. Maybe more UK fighters on the ground.
I do believe the French have that line in the centre, so they're keeping it strong.
They are, yeah. The UK fighters instead piling into the Frenchman on the side.
Clearly badly hit. Maybe medic will need to get to him. He needs to hold on to himself. I think the French and UK fighter near him.
He does look pretty badly injured there. It has to be said. We can't quite see, but he's rolling around in some agony there.
It's UK fighter choosing to stand up to try to get the attention of the marshals. UK fighters looking after him.
Yeah, I think that a marshal is actually trying to...
Stop fight.
So yeah, medical attention has been called for immediately.
It is a very unfortunate situation when a fighter is injured to the point where the whole fight needs to stop. Hopefully all fighters stay grounded or in their positions.
Henry Cuss, the assistant there to the UK team, has gone straight to his aid, but the medics really need to get in. He needs to understand what the problem is, because of course they need to loosen his armour. That is why Henricus needs to be there.
There's a few movers on the field. They need to make sure that is whether all the fighters were down. There seems to be an incredible amount of French fighters that are actually still standing, and I think maybe there may have been one or two that got up that shouldn't have.
That's possible, yeah. There's one Frenchman in the corner there just shuffling out of the list, and I think, yeah, they're clearing out now, so...
It'd be interesting to see if they go for an entire new round, or whether they start with the amount of down fighters.
They'll start with the down fighters. I believe they're being asked to leave the list.
Yeah, any down fighters are leaving the list. Not all of them, though. There are quite clearly a couple of Brits on your screen and a Frenchman who's actually an Israeli, not being asked to leave
And
the
they're
list
being
just yet.
told to leave now. There's another Frenchman
And
again.
there we
He's being
have
told to
Knight
leave.
Marshall choosing to get them out of the field so they can start with a fresh fight with the numbers they have.
And now the president of the HMBIA, Mr. Anton Trubnikov, will be versus 21 category of the Battle of the Nations 2017, Russia. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the champions of 21 versus 21 of the Battle of the Nations 2017, Ukraine! And now, ladies and gentlemen, in this category, the royal category, 21 versus 21 in the Battle of Nations, one of the most important activities, the president of the HMBIA, Mr. Anton Trubnikov, will present the medal team for the first time ever, Ukraine! The team captain accepts the award and the medals to be distributed to all of the team, all of the fighters. Congratulations to Ukraine for first place, to Russia for second place, and to France for their third place. Congratulations to all of our fighters. And now the hymn of Ukraine.
But may find themselves outnumbered. The Australian Eric Cortez choosing some fighters but getting caught off guard in the back. The French fighters coming in well, helping out Eric Cortez. I think Eric is fighting against one of the Frenchmen, not realizing he was his own teammate. That's another fantastic win for the Russians. friendly bouts because you get to work with people who you may never get a chance to work with in the history of your career. We see another Australian choosing to jump on the field. I think a few of them saw the opportunity and decided to dress up to join. We now the fight is off. Eric Ortiz jumping straight into the center there. Now backing off, realizing that he took a few heavy hits from the Russians. We see some very fast charges from the Americans through the center, hoping to catch a Frenchman off guard and takes him down. No, not quite, as Frenchman's still standing up high. We see a lovely charge from an American that, and a Frenchman that obviously went down with him. And a UK fighter there, I think, that was with the French going down. It seems like it is still a Russian victory here. One Australian, Eric Ortiz, taking one hell of a bashing. He goes down, and the fight, I believe, is called in favor of the Russians. Australian trying to make his way through the center as a bit of a runner. Hitting hard, but not really able to achieve much against that Russian, being pushed to the edge of the list, trying to hook on. We'll see whether his legs are taken from underneath him. The Russians not having anybody down yet. One American down, the Frenchman helping the Russian, Australian down, and now the Russians firmly in grasp of this competition, of this bout. The Frenchman heading strongly towards the American off screen. You see Eric Ortiz doing his famous hold for dear life that he does, but the fight has been broken up. As last man standing, seemingly resisting the Russian, but again, not accomplishing much. French fighters back at the corner of the round starts. The Great Britain fighter standing in front, willing to fend off against a few Russians, deciding to back up pretty quickly. French fighter moving through now. We have one Italian down already. No Russians down. No, Russian goes down with a French fighter. Some very strong moves there from the Russians, trying to catch people off guard. An American runner taking down a Russian off screen. Eric Ortiz doing his best against that Russian. French fighter needing a spare weapon off screen. We have this American being very flighty. It seems that we have an even fight. Oh no, one extra Russian. They're up 1 point. The English fighter doing his best. We see the American now caught off guard with a Russian team member coming in, going to try and take out his legs. Very strong work here by the USA fighter, but unfortunately it means that they have won, I think, about 6 or 5